So I believe you can now see my PowerPoint, the age-old way of conveying information from the cave days. So yes, delighted to be here. I've brought, in fact, a whole swath of us from the tech team at HDR UK to kind of give you a taster of what we're working on and what we're looking at as part of this HDR Elixir fusion. But before we crack on with that, it's always very helpful for us to know. And I'm also quite just curious about this community in general. We wanted to know a little bit about what you guys are and what you're interested in. So can you guys use the chat, the Zoom chat feature? And this is a human data community, human data and tech community. So what kind of human data do your researchers or does your institute typically work with? So we are Health Data Research UK, but actually we do expand beyond the health sphere. So if you'd like to sort of pop into the chat what types of things you guys work on, that would be amazing. Or indeed what your researchers or institute works on. Oh, Elena, you've given me so much joy. Reproduction is so underfunded as a science. That's so exciting. So we are quite clinical. We are quite health in this group. Oh, well, that's worked out really well for us here at HDR UK, as we have health in the name. Brilliant. Yeah. NHS data. Thank you, Lorraine, for being multidisciplinary. Everyone counts. Oh, dietary. That would be quite fun. Um, awesome. So this chat will be quite relevant. That's good. All right. Um, feel free to keep adding stuff. Hell yeah, Ava. And then everyone's favorite question what is the most annoying obstacle of working with human data in your experience or the experience of people who work in your institute, or both? I am actively asking you to complain. Oh, yeah. Gold started Dan. Oh, Saskia, very, very deep that answer. Communication between people, very difficult between disciplines. I work with a lot of software developers. I am not a software developer. We have a great time. Um, we've determined that analogies work best. Data organization, lack of proper metadata. Yeah, metadata basically a swear word these days. Uh, poorly described data, difficulty to get people to share it, just everything around the legal side of things. Yeah, that makes sense for me, Chris. Cool. Fiona, my heart goes out to you. Yeah. So we've got ambiguous sample information, low power, data sparsity, consenting, sort of lots of things around access, actually just straight up working with people. Yeah. So this was awesome actually because everyone kind of picked a different thing that is their bugbear across the system. And this a little bit aligns with how we're approaching things as an institute. So when we think about this as a problem, this wider use of human data, or if we're specifically thinking about the health data side of Health Data Research UK, the health side of it, it is this is how we think of it. We think of this researcher journey from finding data, accessing it, linking it, curating it, analyzing it, getting insights from it, and actually leading to policy and to change, somehow having the energy after overcoming all of these IG challenges and actually getting the data together and finding a way to analyze it and then actually still having the energy to do something about it. So this is our mission as an institute, is to accelerate the trustworthy data use to enable discoveries. And then a big chunk of our institute is specifying that in the health field. So making every interaction with patients, clinical trial, and biomedical discovery be informed by big data. I would say we're largely at the minute focusing on these early stages, which I think aligns quite a bit with what you guys have posted here. Paperwork and delays being my own personal vendetta against the world. But we are increasingly, connecting with some of these pieces later on in the cycle as well. I also find, Elixir is a very confusing, overwhelming institution when you first start dealing with it. And I think HDR UK is as well. So I want to take a little second to explain who we are as an institute. So our program setup, we are remote first. So we're actually kind of everywhere in the abyss. Like half our team I've not met in face to face. And we've essentially tried to cut collaboratively across the UK, across discipline, across region, across interest, and all the different ways we possibly can to try and address this issue of being able to actually use big data. So a little bit about how we're set up. We have the British Heart Foundation Data Science Centre. These guys are really pushing the envelope on doing these whole countrywide or UK-wide scale studies. So just developing tons of different pieces of software for researchers as they're addressing these wider population studies. We also have research driver programs where we've collaborated with institutes across the UK to, again, pushing forward research in these different areas, particularly associated with health. So this is the more research side of things. We also then have the infrastructure side of things. So we have something called the UK Health Data Research Alliance, which has brought together people all over the UK to essentially agree standards and work together and try and bring this community forward from these sort of siloed areas. And I'm going to be pointing out a number of outputs from this Health Data Research Alliance later today. A lot of our kit is informed by their decisions and their needs because we're trying to cut across, at a national level. We have, usable data, looking loads of data standards, just standard. I use the term about 27 times a day. And then around capacity building as well. We've cut across region, we've cut across interest. In the time that we've been around as HDR UK, we would sort of throw people together, and if they sparked and it worked, then we'd keep them going and say, yes, carry on with what you're doing. So that's the hubs in the regional network. Our side that we're particularly interesting of this community would be the technology side, obviously, health data and tech community, or human data and tech community, or club rather, club. I need to start using it correctly. So we have data and analytics research environments, DARE UK. That's data type agnostic, and they're actually going to do their own showcase later on in the year. So look out for that. That's quite fun. And then we are the tech team within the tech ecosystem. And then Federated Analytics is championed by Tim Beck. So we won't be talking about that today. And then we naturally work a lot with legal governance to try and make stuff like that easier, to try and make our software fit into people's information governance needs, working with patients. And we also do some global outreach as well. And I am just going to give a bit of a star to our brain health. If brain is not your field, and it didn't actually come up, I think, in most of what you guys were saying, the UK is like astronomically bad about getting involved in brain health or like Alzheimer's or dementia clinical trials. We're like an extremely low rate. So we've done a whole bunch of effort trying to improve that as an institute as well. It's pretty sweet. So in sum, ignoring everything else, we are a charity. We are funded by the governments, we are funded by research councils, we are funded by other charities. Our goal is to make doing research easier. Oh,
would have like a very high.
I feel like I recognize that accent. The accent's gone. All right. We want to streamline the researcher journey. We want to make it easier. So we in the tech team and specifically are not actually doing research. We are trying to make it easier. Ergo, Elixir, infrastructure, here we go. We also want groups to use our tech solutions, just like all of us, right? If you're going to build something, you want it to be used. I would say we're extremely privileged and lucky in that we are in kind of an enterprise level software team. We do agile development. We are aiming for scalable, secure solutions that can be approved by data security and data protection teams within organizations. So that is our aim, is to make this one-stop shop so that people can then spend their brains doing cooler stuff than the setups that we're enabling. So we do a lot of stuff where our stuff is open source, and we're not particularly worried about branding. So if you brand however you like, that's fine with us. And the last thing I will say, though, very important to us, and I brought like our team has user researchers, and user-centric design is a fundamental component of how we work. And that's why we have a whole pack of us today. So I will now kick over. We will start the software showcase now that you know a bit about who we are. Who is taking over? I think it's Giselle. You're taking from me, or is it Sonia?
Okay, so we got there in the end. I'm here to talk to you about the gateway. In essence, our role here is to support the end-to-end user journey from discovery through to access. We have over 1,000 data sets now, and over 100 data custodians. So they're all there for you to explore, including those data sets that are provided by the NHS SDE network. We offer the ability to query federated data sets using the cohort discovery, which Sanya will talk to you about later. And as part of the gateway, we offer the opportunity for a one-stop shop in that data custodians and researchers can basically follow their data application processes and general inquiries all in one place. So the gateway is the place to be. So moving on very quickly, taking you to the homepage of the gateway, I strongly advise you to start at the top right-hand corner in the sign in. You can sign in by multiple methods. So there's Azure, your institutional account, Google or LinkedIn. And by logging in and creating an account up front, it gives you much more facility and tools to use right from the very start. So the two titles which you are most likely to search by are dataset and biosamples. As I mentioned, we have over 1,000 datasets and data custodians if you know who generated that dataset. So moving on, when you click onto dataset and biosamples, you'll be presented with a page like this. It will automatically populate with a random display of datasets, so you can see kind of what's there and available. And then you have two options to search by. You've got the main search bar at the top, where you can type in your keyword search term, or on the left-hand side, you can use the filters. So here you can kind of instantly select data sets that, for example, have biosamples available. You can select data sets based on population size. You can select them by the standards used, for example, if there's OMOP data available, so on and so forth. So this is why I was saying log in from the start. So in essence, you probably noticed there on the previous page, you've got the actions button. So by clicking on that, it brings up the option to add a data set to your library, to start a general inquiry, a feasibility inquiry, or actually start a data access request straight from the start. So in this instance, what I've done is I've chosen to add the data set to my list and also to my library and then go through to my library page. So this is a really cool feature within the gateway. So you can now see on the left-hand side, this is my library. And I've decided that I want to contact those three specific data custodians about the data set they have. It brings up one form which I complete with my inquiry. I hit send and it automatically goes straight off to those three data custodians. So it's one email rather than three straight off. So it's a really nice feature. So the other thing, going back to the actual search side of things, as I mentioned, there's the top search bar. So in this instance, I chose to search for the British Heart Foundation and then go through to their top presented data set here. So the first thing you kind of presented with is like a real standout graphic to begin with. So at the top, you'll see here 5 tiles. These basically give you what we feel as researchers are the key things that you really want to know about a data set. So you've got the population size, how long the study itself has been running from. So this started in 1990 and is still continuing, whether there's any associated biosamples, where that data comes from. So in this instance, it comes from Wales, and it tells you the approximate lead time for how long it will take you to get access to. Then on the right-hand side, we have further information about the dataset types, dataset subtypes, and where that data is being collected from. So, for example, in this case, you can see it's been brought in from accident and emergency, secondary care, so on and so forth. Then the other thing that we're really proud of is within the gateway is the Gateway Spider. So the gateway isn't just a data catalogue, it's basically there for you to surface other assets associated with your data sets. So in this example, you can see that the BHF have also added in the publications associated with their data set, data uses, so you can see actually how that data set has been used by other institutions and in what projects. They've uploaded analysis scripts and software, so you can see what they've used to actually generate that data set. You can explore demographics further, and then additionally, you can see what collections they're involved in. So by going through to the collections, You can see other data sets associated with that theme. So, in that way, in that respect, you can possibly surface other data sets that you might not have heard from. So each of those little links on that spider are actually clickable as well, and it will open up a new page. You can also see on the right-hand side is a relationships button, so you can actually see that in this instance, this data set has been derived from 34 further data sets. So if I click through to the next page, so in this instance, I click through to the data uses. So you can see here immediately the title of the research study that the dataset went on to be used in, and who that lead organisation was. So that's again really useful. So again, it points you to other things that you might want to learn more about and take you through to other studies. So what's next? Basically, we're at over 1,000 data sets now. That number is increasing month by month. We're getting more and more traction, so we're kind of really rolling forwards at great pace now. The other thing we really want is we want you. We built this service for researchers in mind. We wanted to streamline the process from access to discovery to access even, and we're consistent about improving user journey. So we want to know from you. We want to hear your ideas, what else you'd like to see in the gateway, what your specific pain points are. And we'd also like to hear what works really well and see if we can improve that even further for you. So with that in mind, we have roadmap drop-in sessions. These take place once a month. The next one is on the 11th of March. And if you'd like to take part in that, please feel free to scan the QR code and sign up. And the other thing that we're more than happy to do is obviously we're giving this demonstration today, but if you know part of a university and you think your colleagues would benefit from a session on the gateway or indeed any of our other services, please do just contact us. We're happy to tailor that session according to your needs, or if needs be, I'm more than happy to go through on a one-to-one basis. And then, as I mentioned, there's the little yellow need support button. Just click that and it will create an email to the help desk page where you're most likely to come into contact with me again, and I'll assist you in the best way I can. So finally, the key things to remember, I want you to take away today, is that Gateway is free and it's open source. It's there for everybody to use. We're so much more than a data catalogue. There is so much information within the gateway itself. We're in essence signposting to so many different things, not just the data set. So what I really encourage you to do is to check out the gateway today, sign in, have a play, and learn, understand, and access the data and enjoy your research. And with that, I will hand over to Adrian.
We do a lot of user research, and as part of this research, we get people to test our applications and to give feedback. So this is just a very brief taster session. So we're going to use the chat, and if you just type in your answers into chat, that'll be great. So next slide, thank you. So firstly, imagine you're a researcher trying to understand what data is available on the gateway. So you've got this display, you've typed in a search, and you have some information here about the data sets that we hold on the gateway. The first question is, where would you go to, or what would you click on here to reorder the columns in order to fit to your preferences? Apologies for the quality of the image here. So where would you click? What would you click on? Just type your answers in the chat. So you want to reorder the columns that you see here to fit your own preferences. How would you do that? Any answers? Yeah, so either so the preferences here are simply you want to, let's say you want data custodian as your third or fourth column, or you want population size moved to the left. It's just simply reordering those things. Does that make sense? Search returns. Thanks, Stephen. Great. I think we'll go on to the next one.
Wait, we want to know the answer. What was right?
Well, there is no right answer, but at the moment we have this configure columns button, which I think one person mentioned, and in there you can reorder the columns, you can turn them on and off. And yes, but this is we're still working through the design. So absolutely, this is exactly why we get people's feedback to see where they would likely to go and whether they can correctly navigate around the screen. So yeah, useful to know. Thank you. So the next one is, so imagine you're a data custodian and you have a variety of different data assets and other resources on the gateway, and you want to know how they are performing. This is an example dashboard that we are currently designing in order to give you a bit more insight into what's on the gateway in terms of your own assets and how well they're performing. The question I have really is based on this, is there anything else that you would like to see, or you think as a data custodian you would actually like to see on a dashboard? Okay, yeah, it'd be good to know what, maybe expand a little bit about what you mean, Stephen, where people are based. Yeah, okay, so where people are coming from, where their data has been accessed from, that's good. This is all really useful, thank you. So even just to answer your question, so at the moment, this dashboard is just viewed mainly by a team account. In other words, you're a data custodian, you've got an account. So anyone within your team can access this information. It's not information that's shown to researchers or other teams. It's just your own team. Cool. So I think that's it for me for a while. I think we're handing over to Sanya now.
So my name is Sangya Pandir. Hello, everyone. I have recently joined HDR UK as a product owner for Cohort Discovery, and have the pleasure of sharing a little bit about the service with you today. So what is the problem we're trying to solve? There are, as we know in this group, lots of health data sets out there that can be used for research in the UK, but maintaining patient privacy is paramount. And so these data sets are, of course, cannot be freely disseminated. And for a researcher, it is then difficult to know which sensitive data sets contain what they need and do that feasibility check and then go about accessing them. So the Cohort Discovery is a freely available tool integrated into the gateway. You can access it through that. I will come to that in a minute, which allows for rapid feasibility assessment. A user can run their queries in real time and get counts back for whether a cohort can be found for the conditions they might be interested in. It follows a federated and privacy-preserving model. So queries look at anonymized data that never actually moves outside of the secure data environment. So it lives in the custodian's environment always, and the service only presents aggregated numerical counts in response to a user's queries, which is sort of secure and yet helps the user determines feasibility of kind of the data they're looking for their research. We use the OMOP common data model to standardize and efficiently present data to users. So yeah, who is it for? It is for researchers trying to find data quickly, who may not even be aware of data sources that hold data they're looking for, and through using the tool, they can then see what the counts are, where the data is, which custodian holds it, and make more feasible access requests. And it is for custodians who are looking to reduce sort of the time and cost sink on their end in managing ad hoc queries that may be about data that they don't even hold. And of course, it helps them maximize the value of their data by increasing visibility and letting users run sort of secure and safe queries against it. A little look under the hood of Cohort Discovery. So as I mentioned, all of the row level data with patient identifiable information present lives with the data source partner in their secure data environment. We require for this to be mapped to OMOP against a sort of minimum set of variables that we provide. So it's standardized and de-identified, removed of all PII, and then held in this sort of OMOP common data model, on top of which we use open source services like one called Bunny, which basically is an engine that allows counts from this data to be communicated to the Cohort Discovery tools that are then presented to the user. So it's privacy by design here. No raw data ever leaves the secure data environment. There's additional measures like low count number suppression. So if a query is run and counts come back very low, let's say below 10, and there's a risk that patients could be identified somehow, although it's difficult, but could be, we suppress those results from being presented to the user. There's automated rounding, so results are rounded to the nearest, for example, 10, again, to preserve patient confidentiality, and so you can never get the exact number in case those numbers are very specific, and it protects patient data in all possibilities. And the service uses a model that is outbound only from the secure data environment. So no data ever leaves. It is a secure data environment that says, oh, hey, Bunny, do you have a question you need to answer? So there's no incoming sort of information into the secure environment. We are launching a new cohort discovery service, very exciting. So at the moment, if you go onto a Gateway landing page, you can click on cohort discovery and access a tool that provides all of this service, but we are in the process of creating a sort of new and improved version of it, following an iterative user experience testing driven development cycle, this double diamond, and sort of you've seen hints today of how we include community in our development, and we're continuing to do that. Some of the highlights are having a more intuitive interface that allows you to start searching with natural language and then interact with that in a more complex way to build your queries. There's dynamic guidance and help available as you interact with the service, and the service is fully open source. So I'm going to move on to a little demo here. So we're on the Gateway landing page here, from where you can click on Cohort Discovery. You can see information about cohort discovery, how to request access, the security and confidentiality measures in place, and the NHS Research SDE network. And you can also access the service, which we will just click on here. So here we can see guidance for the tool. How to build your queries and how to run them, how to view results. You can see which data sets you are searching within and change the selection. These are all clinical synthetic data sets that we have created just for demo and testing purposes, as a service is still under development. You can type your query name here. So let's try test to ELIXIR, and then you can run a query. So I'm going to try adults with asthma. There, and that corrected itself. So the natural language query bar and the query builder interact with each other essentially, and create an easy way for you to run your query. So I can select asthma here, and adults has been interpreted as people with ages over 18, which I'm happy with. You can also add time frames for when the condition was diagnosed, or the age of patient when the condition was diagnosed, which helps narrow things down further. And you can add more rules for conditions or symptoms to your query, and then I can run the query. So while the query is running, this is all under development, so it takes a bit for it to come back. I can sort of talk through the other functionality here. You've got a query history page that shows you the history of all your queries, and you can choose to go into your past queries. So let's say I want to look into this one that had some hits, and then you can edit or rerun or delete or download your queries that you've run previously. You can also search within your history. Coming back to the query we're running now, once you have results, so at the moment it's coming back with 0. As I mentioned, this is a synthetic data set, but if it has hits and you're interested in that data set, you will be able to click on the dataset link and go to the datasets dedicated page on HDR UK Gateway, as we can see here. This gives me all of the information about the secure data environment for this dataset held by the custodian, the population size, associated biosamples, coverage, and so on. You can scroll the page and find all of the summary information and observations and so on for this dataset. And if this fits what you're looking for, you can make a general inquiry, a feasibility inquiry, or start a data access request. So yeah, coming back to the cohort discovery tool, then you can very quickly run queries like this, and then you can go back and start again and run another query. So yeah, other things worth highlighting are this is open source development. There is a standalone version of this tool. So if you'd like to use it, get in touch with us. We already have global partnerships underway. BBMRI are looking at using the tool for their purposes. It is available for SDEs to deploy internally to allow their staff to easily query and understand their own local OMOP datasets. There is seamless integration with existing auths, different ways of letting users enter. And then the tool itself is fully compliant with open source clients like the Bunny that I mentioned or BC Insight. These are the two main ones that can sit on top of your OMOP database as a custodian and talk to cohort discovery for you. So yeah, if you're interested in trying out the open source version, please do get in touch. A little bit about cohort discovery. As I mentioned, there's a production system in place already, and it contains over 100 million queryable records. So it's doing, I think it's doing a lot in making these confidential data sets sort of accessible to people in a safe way. We've onboarded the CPRD clinical practice research data link onto the system, which has brought in over 49 million patients that have access primary care in the UK into the system, and those records are queryable. The full population level data of Scottish custodians has been onboarded. There's over 1 billion records there, and we are in the process now of onboarding the NHS SD England custodians, which will cover all of England as well. So what's next for us? We're launching this new tool I've showed you today imminently in March. We will be onboarding all of the custodians and providing access to users at the same time to try out the beta version. As I mentioned, we are very keen on standardization. I know Wendy mentioned it too. So we cover everything is OMOPified that's provided through our service, and we're working towards additional international standards like GA4GH beacons. In the future, we're looking at expanding our multimodal so data provision, integrating genomics data, biomarker, and other data sets for sort of comprehensive insights into patient data. We are part of a federated network and looking at improving our offering for clinical trial planning, so adding location information and so on in the future. We want to foster this open community, so yes, please get in touch and attend the roadmap sessions for Gateway and so on, and sort of join our community. We are looking at how we can make this kind of research sustainable. Really, scaling this service drives huge economic savings for custodians themselves, as it sort of makes one centralized path available for everyone to connect researchers with custodian data.
All right. We will finish with one more product. You guys have been seeing stuff about finding data and accessing data and all this cool researchy stuff. And I'm going to tell you to throw it all away and think about admin. Because that is, in fact, what makes the world go round. You can't get any of the cool data until you actually do some admin about it. And that's what the Safe People Registry is about. So we know that data is cool. You've seen a couple of cool products about how cool data is and all the power that it can do. Nevertheless, access needs to be controlled. There was a beautiful comment right at the beginning of this that was like the balance between making things easy to access, but also like safe and secure, right? You don't want your health data or any of your personal data falling into the hands of evil folk. So around how do we then do this balance? There's been a lot of work within the wider HDR and HDR UK community, with Elizabeth Green and Felix Ritchie across the 5 Safes framework in general, and we're really promoting that at HDR UK hard. And it's how you make these decisions. Our research, a UK Research Alliance have published a ton on this, bringing the community together to determine what should the standards be. If you had to decide that someone is safe or that some project is safe, how would you make that decision? How do you decide whether the outputs of a project, particularly in the land of machine learning and AI, how do you determine that those things are safe and not disclosing information about an individual? Tons of work here. We're specifically focusing on the people aspect. aspect, as fun as it is to send all of your information about yourself in 12 different ways to 12 different secure data environments. So we published guidance on this, again, community involved. How are you going to make certain that someone is safe? Do they have a CV that actually matches the project that they're working on? Are they of sufficient seniority? Have they done similar projects before? These are the types of things you might want to know if you're making that decision. And the reason this is important is if we think globally, not just one at a time. So I want you to imagine for a second that you're a researcher. Loads of you are also at institutes where you're advocating for researchers, building infrastructure for researchers. So if you're a researcher, you think that most of your job is to come up with a brilliant idea, right? This amazing, brilliant project idea. And let's imagine you want to get data from 3 different secure data environments or trusted research environments. Your brilliant idea is a tiny proportion of your actual labor. The actual labor is stuff like this, where you, as a little researcher, are going to have to run around a university and find someone to sign off on you. And if you're at a big institute that does this all the time and you're in a group that does this all the time, that might be easier. But there's a lot of people who have great ideas who are not in those privileged scenarios. So finding the signatory is quite challenging a lot of the time. Even if you're at an institute that does this all the time, that can be tough. You then get to run through some hoops, the slalom Olympics of data access, if you will, of trying to find the type of information you need to share. Your organization also needs to find information and share it. And it might be by Jira, it might be by spreadsheet, it might be by email, it might be by form. Everyone does this differently, both in how they receive the information and how they actually store it and make decisions themselves. And then you get to do it again in an entirely different way for the next guy. And then you get to do it again in an entirely different way for the next guy. And sometimes these people represent networks. So you're having to do something for the overall institution and the sub network as a part of these scenarios. It is a complex logistical nightmare that just takes way too much time. And that is something that loads of you mentioned right at the beginning, that it is the paperwork that is so soul crushing. That is the problem we're trying to solve. So our idea is if we have one central location for this type of information, suddenly this simplifies. You still have to get your organization to acknowledge you exist. You still have to input your information somewhere. But if you fill in that profile and your organization fills in that profile within our system, a bit like LinkedIn, but for safety, suddenly all those custodians can access that profile. Suddenly the only interaction they're having with the user directly or the organization directly is about the project, rather than having to collect this information over and over again. And we can actually push this one step further. One of the things we want to do is actually get loads of organizations to onboard onto the system in advance. So we're going to have like a whole launch party. We're going to feed people champagne. We're going to do a whole bit in order to try and get these people onto the system, to get the data protection officers to actually manage an account on the system. So what if the organization is already there? Suddenly this simplifies further. The user doesn't have to, or the researcher doesn't have to run around finding someone to sign off on them. They don't have to run around getting the organization to upload data security certificates for the data custodians can see. They just pick them from a list and suddenly that's done. And we can take this one step further again. What if the person has done research more than once? Many of us do, right? So if they've already used the system once, the organization's already there, and the organization has already checked their records and says, yes, Connor is definitely one of our researchers. He definitely should be doing this type of data analysis. It simplifies even further. They get to acknowledge this researcher once. This is our goal. If we can get this whole model to work nationally, where people are actually working with one system rather than recreating this data flow from researcher to organization to custodian over and over again, things simplify a lot. It's better than that. All right. The other thing I'd like to give a shout out to is the organization perspective, like the University of X. Currently, the way this works is you'll have a bunch of researchers. They're all doing really cool stuff. They're all scrambling around trying to find someone to be in charge of them, to sign off on them. Those people are often not talking to each other. Universities are wide, paperwork gets lost, emails don't get received or responded to. All of those individuals, those signatories and those researchers, are also then working with different TREs or different secure data environments, sometimes the same one and they don't even realize it. This is a bit of a logistical nightmare. It also means there's no single point of oversight from an organization perspective. So if you're using the Safe People Registry, you have one location that all of this information is kept. A registry being a series of registers. The organization can, again, delegate its authority across different institutes, but all of that is visible. There's one location where all this is stored. They get their own register to say what projects people are working on. all the researchers can interact specifically with that software, and then ultimately the custodians interact with that software directly themselves. So that is why we think this system is awesome, because it's going to massively simplify, it's going to streamline, and it's going to make things way more transparent for organizations, users, and custodians. There's a million of features I would love to talk about if this is of interest to you. The status we are at now is that it is not currently used. We are onboarding the first live projects from data custodians now. We would love to hear from anyone who would like to try using the system for a live project. We've done loads of user testing. We want to see real stuff on our account. From the user or organization perspective, the researchers, the organizations, you guys are very welcome to come along and start making accounts now. The system's live, the site's there, and we'll put it in the notes that go out at the end of this as well. So yes, please do interact with us. We really want to change the system nationally to make this whole process a bit easier. And because we believe that user research is very fun, and we'd like to hear from you, I'm going to let Adrian take you through our final two questions before our whole speech is over.
Yeah, so we've got some more interactivity. Wendy, I think there's a question in the chat about EU as well, if you want to answer that. Firstly, let's imagine you're a researcher. You've populated your Say People Registry profile, and you've received an email, you've been added to a project. You now want to understand where in the process you are. So we're going to present two different screens, and we're simply asking you to type in A or B into the chat. If you want to put a reason, that's fine, but just A or B. So first one is a view. So I'm not going to speak too much about it. I'm just going to show you A and then show you B, just like they don't influence you in any way. And then I think one more screen, and then you get both of them together. So yeah, just vote A or B. Again, if you want to put a reason, you can do. A simple gut feel. Got one vote for A. Anyone else? I think we're just going with A for the moment. Oh, 2 for A. That's good. 3 for A. There we go. You'll be delighted to know that I think A is the one that we currently are going with. But it's good to see that is showing up in the test. So that's good. The next one is so imagine you're a data custodian. You've got a bunch of people who you need to go through and validate are safe or not. Some of them you started, some of them you're blocked, some of them you're waiting for them to send you more information. So again, similar. This is the kind of the view from the data custodian side into all the people that you're validating. So again, you go to the Safe People Register and start validating people. So again, we're going to show you two options here, A and B, and we just want a gut feel as to which you feel is more useful to you as a custodian this time. So that's A, showing your view grouped by status. We go to B. So that's B, that's a list view of the same users with the same statuses. And if we could just see them side by side. So again, just vote A or B, which one you think you would prefer to use. Within the software, we're going to allow you to see both views anyway. So it's not that one of them will be taken away, but we'd like to understand which one feels more useful to you. So currently the list view seems to have the most votes. All the votes at the moment. This is a very clear A/B test. Very, very clear preference. It's good. Good to see. It's interesting because I thought more people would go for A. Well, there we go. Showing you what I know as a designer.
We'd had a massive debate about that, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, this is super helpful. Oh, a diplomat has appeared. Thank you,
Oh,
Stephen.
there we go, yeah. If you put a bit more information, Stephen, about which scenarios you would use A and which would B, that would be great. But yeah, I'd be really interested to sort of connect with anyone in this group as well in future as to, these are the kinds of conversations we have. We have, this is very quick, but we have more in-depth testing of stuff that we're doing. We have conversations around certain topics. So yeah, it'd be great to take this a bit further. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, this has been brilliant, guys. And this is exactly the type of stuff that we ask and want to know from people. So thank you so much, and please do engage with us. The final slide, I'll just bring it all together before we end, is just when we put all of this software together, right? We're looking from the data discovery point of view with the gateway and with cohort discovery, delving even further, actually getting estimated numbers. We're going through data access. We have a whole module within the gateway around making data access simplified, the Safe People Registry for actually monitoring the safe people, indeed getting project registers. There's a whole chunk of effort we're not talking about today, but watch this space because they will appear in future talks within this community this year around actually doing the analysis and sort of federated analytics, doing things in secure research environments, and then finally showcasing insights at the end, where if your organization or custodian are involved in projects, you get dashboards, you can get a public widget that will show the data uses that is occurring at your institution. And then ultimately, depending on how well people annotate and curate that information, publications, software scripts, etc., can then all be linked back to the gateway and therefore help data discovery in the future as well. So big thank you from us for letting us give you this showcase and for your fantastic participation to help us get some more information about how we can build things better. There's QR codes here, and we'll put a whole bunch of links in the meeting notes that go out. And please continue asking questions and engage with us. Thank you so much.